Hi folks, I'm Hector Garcia, CPA and business consultant. In this video, I'm going to show you how to prepare 1099 NEC forms for your independent contractors. Now I'm going to be using QuickBooks' system for 1099 e-file service. If you don't have QuickBooks, you can still use their system. Go straight into the 1099 e-file service platform. I'll put a link on the description below, and you can pay anywhere between $15 and $80 something depending on the number of contractors to prepare and electronically file those 1099s. However, in the video, I'm going to be focused on how to do this straight from QuickBooks using the same e-file service. So I'm on QuickBooks Online right now, and the first thing I'm going to do before I jump right to 1099s, I'm going to show you a report that shows all the expenses I've made by vendor, so we can have an idea more or less who's supposed to get a 1099. So I'm going to go into the reports menu on the left hand side, click on reports, and then I'm going to search for a report called expenses by vendor. So expenses by vendor summary, actually, click on that, and then I'm going to select for the reporting year. I'm going to do last fiscal year. Let's do last year, and I'm recording this at the beginning of 2021. So we're going to do this reporting for 2020. If you're watching this in the future, the process should be the same. If there's no changes, you could be watching this a year from now and it would be essentially the same process. So I got my expenses by vendor report for 2020, and I see all these vendors that I've had expenses for. Normally what I'm looking for is I'm looking for everyone that I paid more than $600 for the year, because $600 is the threshold. So any individual contractor that you paid less than $600 shouldn't get a 1099 form. So one of the things that I can do is I can sort it by descending order, and basically I'm going to ignore anything that's under $600. So if you look at all the people that we paid, and these are individuals, name and last name, we have Arun Misha, we have Mark Smith, and we have Maria Garcia. All of these are over 600, so we're making the assumption that all these people will get 1099s. We're going to get right into the details of which payments are applicable or not. Now I'm going to click on the total dollar amount down here to get a detailed report of all those payments, and I'm going to sort these by, let's do it by name or by vendor. So it's vendor here, yeah, perfect, vendor. And we're going to get to see all the expenses by vendor. And what I'll do is I'm going to click on customize, and I'm going to go into filter, and I'm only going to filter those specific vendors because I want to see the actual payments. So I'm going to click on the drop down here, and then I'm going to search each one. So we have Arun, we had, I believe it was Maria or something like that. Let's see. We have Maria or Mark. We have Mark, whoops. Let me just do it through the drop down. The search doesn't seem to be very effective. So we have Maria and Mark. I'm going to click on run report. So now I got basically a detailed report, transaction by transaction, and you can see all the transactions that I've paid to every one of these. So that just gives you an idea more or less of all the people that you have paid. Notice that we have some transactions pointing to the contractor's account. Some are going to office supplies or travel because they're reimbursements, and some were made by check, and one of these is made by expense, which was made with a MasterCard, with a credit card. And the reason why I'm pointing that out is because all these things matter when it comes to actually preparing the 1099, and that's going to show up in a little bit once we start preparing it. So for now, you know that's what that looks like. I'm going to go into the expenses tab, and then under vendors, and I'm going to click on vendors. And then in the vendors tab, I'm going to click on the top right of the screen. You're going to see a big button that says prepare 1099. I'm going to click on that. And on the first screen that pops up, basically it just tells you, do you want to e-file or do you want to print paper file? If you're going to print paper file, you're going to have to order a kit, special paper to print. I would never recommend that. I've never done that. I've always done electronically filing. It's telling you here what the deadline for this year is in order to file them on time. You can file them late. The system will let you file them late, but just so you know, if you file late, of course, you're going to have a potential penalty. Anyway, I'm going to click on continue to your 1099s so we can go to the next screen. And then the first thing you're going to see is a list of all your contractors. And if any of these contractors are missing information, you can click on it and it'll take you to a screen where you can edit or change that information. Now, something I'm going to point out is there's a drop-down menu here that says we have 1099 contractors that met threshold, 1099 contractors below threshold and contractors not marked as 1099. We're going to cover those, but what I'll do is I'm going to go up in the couple of steps process. I'm going to go up to, I'm going to click on back, and I'm going to go up to company so we can see exactly what this looks like when you go step by step. In my case, I had already started the process. That's why I skipped straight to that review section. But when you do it for the first time, it will look like this. So the first thing is, okay, what's your company name, your tax ID, your phone number? Make sure that's correct. Then we're going to go to the next one, which is accounts. And this question is, which of your accounts in your chart of accounts would you like to choose as the ones that get reported on the 1099 form? Also, there's two types of 1099 forms for this context. There's a 1099 NEC, which is the one you see here, which is specifically for contractors. Non-employee compensation is what NEC stands for. And then there's other 1099 miscellaneous, which before 2021 was one form for both NEC and for independent contractors and everything else. So the regular or the old or the legacy 1099 miscellaneous is going to be for reporting rents, royalties, other income, and all these other things that you see here. But it's not for independent contractors, for non-employee compensation. For that, there's a specific form called the 1099 NEC. So in here, I'm going to click on the checkbox saying, yes, this is what I want to report. I don't need to report anything else. And then I'm going to click on the drop-down menu, and I'm going to pick all the accounts, all the expense categories that are going to apply. So you can select multiple or a single one and make sure that you pick the ones that you want to report. There are expenditures that you make to contractors, such as reimbursements. So you're paying them back for something they bought in your behalf. Those don't get reported in the 1099. If the independent contractor sold you stuff, if they sold you merchandise, that's not labor. That doesn't get included on the 1099. So it's only labor, it's only non-employee compensation that gets reported. So through the account that you chose when you made those expenditures, that's why we show you this report that shows all the expenses that you made transaction by transaction across all the vendors, so we can get some context around how this information could vary depending on the type of transaction or the type of expense category that you use when paying that vendor. So anyway, this is where we're going to get to pick. I'm going to pick this one called contractors, and then I'm going to click on next. Then you're going to get a list of all the subcontractors. If any of them are missing specific information, you're going to have a little red highlighted saying, hey, this one's missing the address, this was missing a tax ID, this was missing specific information. If you click on add email or edit, you should have a little drop down menu or a little side drawer that shows up on the right hand side. I think my pop-up blocker is stopping it, so I'm going to go into a different tab here, and I'm going to edit that back in QuickBooks. So it looks like this Mark Smith is missing something, so I'm going to go back into a different tab I had open for QuickBooks. I'm going to go to expenses and vendors, and then I'm going to go into Mark Smith, and let's see what might be missing from Mark Smith. So I'm going to click on edit, and it looks like we're missing his actual name. So it's got on the display name, but I've actually have to put his legal name. So I'll put here Mark, let's say Mark S. Smith, whatever it is. And usually you're going to get this information, name, address, tax ID, because you have to be able to enter their tax ID in there and mark it as tracked for 1099 payments, so they show up in that 1099 system. So you're going to load all this information from a W-9. They're going to give you a W-9 form and sign it that contains all the information that you need to fill out here. So I'm going to click on save, and actually I'm going to go back and click on edit and also put Mark's email. So I'm going to put here Mark at qbkaccounting.com and then click on save. So I loaded his full name and his email. I'm going to go back to my 1099 screen. I'm going to click on refresh, see if it captures that, make sure it doesn't give me an error anymore. Okay, let's see what that looks like now. So I'll go back there, and look, there's no more reds there. There's a red here for some deleted subcontractor. So I'm going to ignore that. I don't care. And it's only showing two, Maria and Mark. Now, not sure why it's doing that. We're going to find out in a second. If we actually go back to that report we were looking at, this was the expenses by vendor summary for last year. And I'm going to click on run. Notice that there's another one called Arun that received $42,000, but he's not showing on the 1099 screen. There might be a reason for that. That's what we're going to find out in a second. So I'm going to click on next. And now we get to these drop down here that shows 1099 contractors that meet the threshold. So these are payments that meet the NEC requirements, the non-employee compensation requirements, which is $10,000. Notice that there's $5,000 excluded. What does that mean? We're going to find out in a second. And then we have the total payments. So I'm going to control click these so I don't lose the screen. Maybe that might not work. No, never mind. It kicked me out of it. So it actually shows me the transaction that's being excluded. Now it doesn't tell me why it's being excluded, but I can tell you why. If you look at this one, I pay them with a credit card. So if you pay them with a credit card, any payments that you make that are electronic, like a credit card payment, those are going to be excluded from the 1099. QuickBooks will not be reporting them because the IRS only wants you to report check payments and sort of bank-to-bank transactions in which it's not going through a payment processor. Payment processors report to the 1099 a different form called a 1099K. So in order to avoid that double reporting, QuickBooks will exclude any payments with a credit card you made to that contractor. Let's see if we can go back here. Oh yeah, perfect. Let me go back there. So that's the reason why the $5,000 were excluded. Now, why are the seemingly another $415 excluded? I'm going to click on that again and then click on continue so we can see what that is. And notice that this was the travel expense. So I paid Mark Smith with a check, but it was $415 of travel. I'm going to click on that so we can know specifically what's going on. And notice that, yes, the category that we used was travel. It wasn't part of the 1099 NEC categories that we set up at the beginning. So QuickBooks will exclude those. So I think it's really important that you know and understand what's happening behind the scenes that makes QuickBooks exclude certain payments from a 1099. Now I'm going to click on the drop-down menu and click on 1099 below threshold. So I'm going to click on that and notice that we have Maria Garcia. We pay Maria Garcia $752, but only $300 are reporting for NEC for the 1099. And because that's below $600, then it's excluding it. Now I'm going to click on the 752 so we can find out what that is. Click on continue, and there's a $452 travel expense, same exact treatment as before. That's why that's being excluded 100%. So that those two things should not make sense. You should understand why it excludes transactions that are below or not on that threshold. Sorry, that are not in that category, and all the vendors that you don't pay more than $600 to. Now, what about that third vendor? So I'm going to click on this one that says contractors not marked as 1099. I'll click on that. And notice that there's a whole bunch showing here. However, there's one specific one that's reporting under NEC because this one, Arun, I have payments going to that contractor category, but it's not reporting as a contractor, probably because the contractor is not marked to be a 1099. So what does that mean? So I'm going to click on Arun, click on him to look at that. And then on the right-hand side, you get this drawer saying you haven't formally set up this person as a contractor. So then I'm going to click the information, fill out what I'm supposed to be filling out, and then click on save. Now, before I click on save and mark this one as a 1099, I'm going to X out of that. I'm going to go back into QuickBooks and show you one little thing that I mentioned already, but again, maybe I did it too fast. I'm going to go back to Arun here and I'm going to click on edit. And I want to make sure that his checkbox for track payments at 1099s, that needs to be marked. If you don't mark that, it excludes it on that screen. Also, you need to make sure that you have a social security number, and I'm making one up here on the fly. You have a social security number entered here. Click on save. So QuickBooks recognizes it. So I'm going to go back and refresh this screen. Contractors not marked as a 1099. After I click on refresh, that Arun should be removed from that grouping. Okay, and it now should be going into the threshold one. Now it looks like something's missing, probably the email address in this case, but let's continue to see what happens. So I'm going to click on finish preparing 1099s. Then it's going to ask me, okay, would you like to do a print and mail, which is $60 or more? Like I said, I would never recommend that. Or would you like to do e-file, which starts at $15, and I'm going to click on e-file for me. Now for pricing, again, it's $15 as of the date I'm doing this video. Maybe in 2022, 2023, if this video is still alive and the price goes up, deal with it, right? I don't know if the price will go up. But for the 2021 tax season, that was the price. And that includes the first 3 1099s. And then you are going to pay $4 per additional 1099 up to 20. 20 is the cap. So it looks like, look, we have invalid information. Arun has the wrong zip code. That's the issue. Why? So I'm actually going to go back to QuickBooks. I'm going to edit Arun's profile. Make sure I have a complete zip code here. Okay. And then I'm going to click on save. Then I'm going to go back to my 1099 e-file service with Intuit. I'm going to refresh that. Hopefully QuickBooks. Okay. So QuickBooks got it. Now it's got the two contractors, their address, their social security numbers, the total dollar amount. Then you're going to hit on continue. Okay, then after you hit continue, you're going to enter your credit card number. After you enter the credit card, you're then going to be on this screen. You're going to be able to click on download and print copies for your records. Once you click on that, it will download the PDF for you. You're going to review it, make sure it's okay, give it to your contractors. You can email it to them or whatever, and that will be done. Then afterwards, you're going to click here, it says e-file, and that's going to submit it to the IRS. And it's also going to email the contractor with the email on file a copy of it as well. But again, you want to maybe double check, triple check, especially if it's the first time paying the contractor, that all the information is correct, because this system won't allow you to amend it or fix it. You have to go through some other process that's really complex to make an amendment. So especially if it's the first time you give it to your contractor, give it to them by email or some other secure way at first, so they can make sure every data point in there is correct. Afterwards, every year after you do your 1099s, you will do here e-file and email it to them, and the process will be pretty much automated. Let me go back for a second and just show you something. Assuming that you don't have QuickBooks, all you have to do is, I'm going to put the link below, go straight to the e-file service, and you're going to click here where it says buy now. And then once you go through that process, you're going to then create the account, and you're going to put let's say, no, I don't have QuickBooks. So you create the account, then you hit on continue. And then in this page, you're going to put your phone number, you're going to create a password, you're going to put your company information. And then in here, in the same platform, the e-filing process looks the same. You're going to enter every contractor, and you're going to hand key their information for the W-9 and the total amounts you're going to report in that form. So you can follow the workflow doing it straight from there if you don't have the information flowing through with QuickBooks. Anyway, I hope this video was useful. I love QuickBooks. I love QuickBooks Online. If you've already been using it, obviously you want to leverage that. Make sure your system is set up correctly. If you need help with that, I'll put my email below, so you can hire me or someone in my firm to help you through that process. Or if you have an accountant, talk to your accountant and say, hey, help me use QuickBooks Online or the Intuit e-filing service for that matter. I didn't get paid by Intuit to do this. This is the system that I use. So I'm just letting you know so you can use it on your own. If you found this information helpful, make sure you hit like, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and add some comments below. Did I not cover something? Do you have any questions about the process? I'll do my best to answer. Hopefully the YouTube community will also do their best to help you as well. Anyway, thank you, and I'll see you on the next one.